The Anne Frank Museum wasn't what I expected. Right here in Amsterdam. For all of you locals that haven't been there yet, because you have so many other titillating entertainment offerings at your fingertips. But my first impression when entering the Anne Frank Museum, which is where she wrote her diary, was this. This place is enormous. I've never seen so much closet space. I expected a cubby, not a walk-in closet. Joan Rivers lives. Holla. Thank you very much. If a loudmouth New York Jew like myself can't unearth comedy gold from Anne Frank's diary, then the real-life Nazis won after all. Also, the swastika is a stupid symbol. I don't care if it's Hindu. It still looks like two stick figures doing a 69 on a seesaw. Holla! Thank you very much! I don't care how chill the Dutch are, regardless of how much strong indoor they puff or not. If your prime minister grounds his populace by giving them a hard 9 p.m. curfew because of some alleged new COVID strain to emerge from the UK, don't expect these sex maniacs, your fellow countrymen, to jump with joy at the prospect of blowing off more steam by foregoing the Peloton for jump roping with strap-ons if they're not dangling from them already, hoisted up high in their posh Amsterdam lofts, posing as gender-fluid chandeliers. Holla! Thank you very much! Unless this new alleged COVID strain from the UK causes you to break out into moles from head to toe, I'd want my nightlife oasis reopened again immediately too. Especially if I'm a single, well-dressed Dutch dude who isn't another boring, blah-brained, married slut in a straitjacket from Delaware either, who should change their state motto to "Your Nazi gold is safe with us." Holla! Thank you very much! I thought the Dutch prided themselves on being independent, artistic thinkers. The Dutch don't watch unibrow Maddow against their will in the waiting room at the dentist's office, do they? For all you hear about universal healthcare in Europe, your teeth never got the fucking memo. No offense, Ronnie lives. Holla! Thank you very much! The weirdest thing about the Dutch rioting to protest the sudden COVID curfews at a hard 9 is how news outlets such as Al Jazeera are showing a sudden interest in the source behind fake news terrorism. So, some rioters burnt down a COVID testing center. It's not as if the same rioters were hiding behind schools or kids' hospitals from subsequent retaliatory tear gas attacks either. Holla! Thank you very much! The Slate wants to know why the Dutch would riot over COVID restricting lockdowns now. Because they thought once Hunter's dad killed off democracy for good, they do some riots on our behalf. Holla! Thank you very much! Plus, I'm positive they thought once Biden got into the White House, every Dutch thought these lockdowns would have come to a faster end than losing their virginity in the red light district, triple wrapped, so they wouldn't have to socially distance themselves from swinging orgies with HIV, regardless if magic made it disappear. Holla! Thank you very much! Heineken in Amsterdam is your Samuel Adams, yet back in New York, Heineken is Wigger juice, which always tastes like a Guido's fart bubbles mixed with Drakkar. Holla! Thank you very much! What Gen X dads understand. Holla! Thank you very much! You don't have Guidos in Amsterdam, do you? Back in New York, they're considered pioneering metrosexuals, which they never get enough props for, really. Throw a candy necklace up on the stage if you feel me. Holla! Thank you very much! How can the Dutch riot against these insane curfew restrictions after being locked out of the red light district for 4 months in a row? Because they're used to coming out on top, like when Peter Minuit got the Indians to sell the island of Manhattan for a pack of American Spirits, 2 peyote buttons, and the board game instruction manual for Risk. Holla! Thank you very much! The New York Post claims the curfew riot protests in Amsterdam are sending the country of Netherlands one step closer to civil war. Because their tourism industry is in the sewer canal since Vegas and LA legalized weed. Who cares if Snoop Dogg's brain hovers below porn hood hell? Holla! Thank you very much! Here's a concept, Netherlands. Lift the curfew and host a 5-day Bernie Mass party. Considering more people have died in your country from erotic asphyxiation since your high schooler hoodie curfew lockdowns began. This is the Do It All Dad Year podcast. Dad-friendly entertainment for you and me. Controlling our kids' economy can make our kids great again. My 3 fuss-free kids, 99% of the time, are living proof of it. My daughter started learning about the Holocaust this week. I don't know if that was a project she wanted to start learning on her own. The 2 major events I did not want my daughter to learn about until after 13 were 9/11 and the Holocaust, but I've already fucked up talking about W and 9/11 and did a pretty good job not talking about the Holocaust. But when you find out about your kids getting like baptized behind your back, you tend to get into a conversation about Nazis and you can do a conversation about censorship and Antifa, and then being the new brown shirts. You tend to talk about Nazis, real life Nazis, when your daddy's been persecuted or branded as a domestic terrorist for 4 years, or a right-wing conspiracist for insisting that the past president, Obama, be good, was no friend of Israel, when on your way to the door you nuke gift Iran $150 billion in unmarked bills, not for overseas manufacturing jobs for Build-A-Bear, but to make the Iranian economy less reliant on the sale of hair removal products for the Kardashians. So my daughter says, so Daddy, I learned about the gas chambers today, and it was scary. But don't worry, I didn't get too freaked out knowing that can't happen anymore. And we would hope so. We would hope that we're not going to be lined up to the gas chambers if we refuse to get a vaccine for the made in China Chinese black lung virus. Not expecting that development. However, with the complete absence of independent thought exploration these days, meaning how in Australia they act like everything's all good, mate. Meanwhile, you got moms there that are being jailed for so-called hate speech or disinformation by bitching about the fact that their kids are boring them to fucking death and that they're not entertaining that much in the first place, and their husband is just another boring Aussie who says mate every other 2 seconds, and beer doesn't really help out his personality much either. So, excuse me if I'm going to question the inflated numbers here for COVID, because last time I checked, less people in America died last year than now, and all these politicians that preach social distancing do the exact opposite, like Nancy denture breath Pelosi and all these politicians that said, hey, COVID, it should be more concerning about you catching it than attending an orgy with Andy Dick. But I could take a step back and say, okay, so America and the globalists coordinated with China to release the Wuhan virus, Kung Fu virus, whatever you want to call it. Trump did have some good nicknames. I swore I wouldn't mention his name again. So, since bequeathing our fucking country to you-know-who, my fucking chest. So anyway, and I don't care if you're fucking listening, asshole. Why you didn't declare the Insurrection Act is fucking beyond me. My only excuse for excusing you is because I'm convinced the deep state got you and said, we'll blow Barron's fucking brains out all over your chessboard if you don't step the fuck down. So, I'm doing my best to judge not, if not judging thyself. I hear you, Bob. I hear you, God. Doesn't mean I have to be fucking pleased by the outcome. My fucking chest. So anyway, I totally get why the Dutch are getting rambunctious and super pissed off. And I don't want to hear, oh, well, they're rioting because I don't know why they're rioting after all this time. I mean, Dr. Fauci says you got a triple mask. America is going to start funding the CDC again. If you want to talk fucking disinformation campaigns. They're rioting. They're talking about re-education camps, for Christ's sake. They're talking about new McCarthy blacklists for the majority of the world that was really hoping that you-know-who would be nominated again so we wouldn't have all of our freedoms and liberties completely fucking obliterated in the name of getting them out in the first place. Now it's like, okay, you know what? We're going to triple down on this fear and control thing because, Dominion is absolved of all crimes against humanity and destroying the integrity of democracy altogether. So who gives a fuck if a gazillion troops died for our freedom to vote and to be better than power-hungry, commie-controlled countries? Who gives a fuck? But you know what? Now that the facade of democracy even freaking existing anymore, we're just going to act like power-mad tyrants and tell you what to do and expect you to like it because you have no control. Because we could send a bunch of Antifa thugs to your home and they could break in and you could bring out a gun or some mace and all of a sudden you'll be accused of aggravated assault with a freaking Pez dispenser. Be considered too aggressive of a response despite them being on my private property. And the cops aren't going to do anything about it because they're told to stand down and they're so freaking precious with their pensions. And you can't do anything about it. So, yeah, I get why all the fucking weed in the world, all the lube, all the dangling from freaking strap-on chandeliers in Amsterdam will not release the freaking pent-up rage and frustration at having all of their cherished freedoms completely and sense of independence completely obliterated for 4 years. Well, it's been for a year. But to have them now think, wow, this could actually become our new permanent gimpy bitch reality? Despite the radical left getting their chosen outcome, having that come true, because our Supreme Court is nothing more than a collection of feckless fucking cunts that, for the first time in my entire life, make me ashamed to be an American. I never thought I'd fucking say that. I'm definitely breaking a record for fucking F-bombs right now, and I don't give a fuck. I identify with DICE now more than ever before, just because of the use of F-bombs to express my frustration to the fucking degree. My fucking chest! So, Amsterdam, Netherlands, I'm with you. You burned down a COVID testing center. What they freaking do? All I'm saying is that you have Antifa and BLM burning down my cities. Seattle. I'm not from there. I'm calling my city. I'm an American. Causing the great exodus out of freaking Manhattan. My city, which what women called it back in the day. You know, they can run wild. But when people lose their ability to pursue happiness, when people lose their ability to protect their family, when people lose their ability to pass on a family-run restaurant that's been in the family generation after generation in one fucking swoop, all because Hillary Hammertime Cankles lost, that evil, deceptive bitch, and all because the media is in bed with freaking defending all these crimes of Obama. I don't care if Michelle's a tranny. I don't care. But I do care if you're going to use that as an excuse to take out Joan Rivers. I do care if you're going to use that to completely ruin the age of innocence allure of high school sports by insisting that men who identify as girls compete with my daughter in future track and field events. Then I have an issue with it. Because they're going to leave pee in the fucking toilet seat. And just so my daughter could say, classy move, you butchy bitch. Hey now, thank you very much. I love Amsterdam. Love's a strong word. I have an extreme like for Amsterdam. And I don't love the fact that they just like rolled over during the Nazi occupation, and that all the rich, successful Jews were sent to slaughter without no one being there for in part of a fight. But nonetheless, I do like the fact that at one point it did represent an area that was a safe space for Jews to provide for their families, live an enviable life full of passion, meaning, giving, contribution. Some guy who wanted to outdo fucking Rembrandt. That's a beautiful thing. And hey, Amsterdam doesn't legalize weed. I don't have the option of getting Neil Young's favorite freaking strand in Vegas when I saw Aerosmith 2 summers ago, before the COVID nightmare began. So God, I just pray, listen, I'm assuming at this point that you let this election hijack takeover happen because you obviously wanted to expose real evil and had that drawn on the most painful, exacting way possible. I'm not you. You do what you got to do. I'm not going to question your almighty ways. However, I have to believe that there's some glimmer of hope at the end of this rainbow. And it's not me writing freaking blog pieces for $250 shekels a pop for a Canadian news culture site to talk about how the next freaking Drake is adapting to performing in front of his freaking mirror instead of competing in local rap poetry slam fest since the pandemic began. So all of a sudden he has to reimagine how he's going to be a rapper when he doesn't have a freaking audience to perform to anymore. I love my audience, old and new. Shabbat Shalom. And I will talk to you guys soon.